it's what we've been doing for 9 years here. We've been telling people stories. Oftentimes people I don't agree with. Sometimes people I don't want to have on the show, like the first time I met Dan Pena, or the first time I met Mantak Chia, or the first time I met David Icke. Like, I thought they were all out of their minds. And yet, over the years, I've learned something from each one of those individuals, and they've caused a debate, and they've caused me to, like you said, philosophize. And I was just speaking with Michael Shermer last week, and he said, Brian, there's freedom of speech, but there's also the freedom to listen to someone, and you're denying them that. And he said, most people think they have a point of view until it's challenged, and then they realize they've never actually constructed the argument in their head. So by having someone come out and challenge people's thoughts on vaccine or masks or coronavirus, it actually forces someone to create their opinion, sometimes for the first time. It's super healthy. And yet, these technology platforms are actually built to be echo chambers, and they actually literally feed us back what we like and what we want, to where you're in this weird bubble that, like you said, it doesn't actually make the brain probably develop any type of neuroplasticity or anything.
Yes, exactly, because I was following Professor Jordan Peterson because I was having similar issues to him in my job, And I think what he was educating us all, and which I've been trying to articulate, is that, the way Martin Luther King said, don't judge people by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Is that what a lot of the time when we're talking about those issues, I have found those discussions and where they label discussions about things as hate speech, is that actually you are contributing to racism by trying to put people into boxes associating their character around the color of their skin. Whereas in a free speech world, you just in Martin Luther King's world, you just listen to what everybody has to say. You don't have to agree with them, but you just might see it from a different perspective if you allow them the opportunity. So a lot of the time I get pushback and say, why are you talking to a certain person? But I say, I will talk to anyone. It doesn't mean, like you're saying, that they might have a different journey for 40 years before we came and had that conversation. And we all have different journeys. But I think what the social media and this culture of labeling hate speech and trying to demonize people who even talk to people, it's the exact opposite of the kind of world we want. What they're trying to do is to silo us so we never engage with people we disagree with, so that we will never resolve any issues and everybody will be more entrenched. So I think part of the pushback is to say, like you're doing with me, we should all talk to each other. It doesn't mean we agree with everything you've ever said or you're going to agree with everything I ever said, but this is a pushback. So there is an insidious undermining in the education system, in the political sphere, in the media, all over the place, to prevent people having open conversations. And I always say as well, I could be wrong, but I will never know I'm wrong if I'm not challenged. So I think our societies have been really undermined in the last 10, 20 years. And it's just basic things: open debate, freedom of speech, respect each other, judge people on the content of their character, and don't try and look at whether they're a man or a woman or the color of their skin. And I think if you've gone through those years where freedom of speech has been curtailed in professions, what's going on now in the curtailment of freedom of speech with the coronavirus and the health issues is just all the one continuum, and that we need to highlight it. What the media is doing for coronavirus is what they've done for all kinds of issues that are very important in society, and that it's a continuum, and we need to put the pieces together, join the dots to make it easier to push back, because people need to be given the confidence that it's a similar playbook, as regards hate speech and, issues around men and women, and the carbon dioxide, climate change, the 5G, the coronavirus. They're all clamping down on this open debate about those issues so that people are just fed one line that might be incorrect.
Yeah, and this whole concept of kind of what I call digital freedom of speech, what does that look like? How do we protect it going forward as it goes into all these weird iterations, from text to video to multiple platforms to whatever it goes into the future? But I think we're starting to recognize how crucial it is to preserve that. And I think some of the younger generation is maybe even realizing, maybe for the first time, how important just simple freedom of speech is as well, because maybe they've never valued it as much as maybe these times or these times in the future. So I hope we figure out.
But I'd like to maybe throw out the idea that, you know, if you have 1 million people looking, that you get sponsored by a bank that supports free speech, or, you know, some companies that a brand is built up around freedom of speech as a core value of our society, and that people like me could move and say, okay, I'm going to buy my coffee there, I'm going to buy my insurance there, I'm going to move my life savings there, you know, that we need to be, I think, a little bit smarter, you know, and ordinary people need to help people like you, and then maybe not go on YouTube anymore, not use certain search engines, you know, that we take our business elsewhere and we encourage other people to do so. And maybe we vote for people that want to have policies made through free speech and open debate. And maybe our licenses, that we would push back against members of parliament or the BBC, that if it turns out there are unnecessary deaths because they didn't discuss some issues, that then we should be electing people that would have inquiries, that would actually not support the organizations that have clamped down on health information.